Good morning, it's good to see you. If you spend long enough in Asia, you're bound to bump into a few of these types of expats, the misfits, the unusual, the unique. It's one of the reasons we come here. Just having a bit of fun today. Here's 8 expats you should avoid, or not.
First, we have the myth, the legend, the loner. This is the expat that everyone in the local town swears exists, but almost nobody has actually seen him in the flesh. He's like the Bigfoot of the expat community. If you hear stories about him, it's always third hand. Someone's landlord said he's from the UK and lives up in the hills, or a bartender mentions he's an American who hasn't been seen in town since monsoon 3 years ago. The loner doesn't live in expat enclaves. He's chosen a quiet village miles outside of town where there isn't much at all. He doesn't want high-speed internet. He doesn't care about imported cheese, and he certainly doesn't want to make friends. He speaks the local dialect perfectly, not to show off, but simply as a survival tool to keep his interactions with the world as brief as humanly possible. The loner completely avoids other foreigners. He doesn't join the local Facebook groups to ask where the best burger is in town. He doesn't hang out at the bars. He wants absolutely nothing to do with the country he left behind, and even less to do with the people who escaped it. If you happen to be exploring the countryside and you accidentally run into him, don't expect a warm greeting. The moment he hears your accent, his face will drop. He won't smile, he won't ask you where you're from, and he won't exchange contact info. Instead, you'll look really annoyed that you found him. He'll look at you like you just ruined his entire year by saying hello. He'll pay for his goods, nod grimly, hop on a battered old bicycle and disappear right back into the landscape. He's built a life of absolute solitude, and he views tourists and new expats as a personal threat to his peace of mind.
Can I just interject here and say that I'm not making any judgments on anybody at all. I'm actually poking a bit of fun at myself as well, in that I share numerous traits of these types of people that you might meet out here, and I'm really just having a bit of a laugh at myself actually. When I was writing this, I was thinking, well, what is this person like? What is this? And just about in every one of them I said, well, you've got a bit of that, you've got a bit of that. So it's just a bit of fun, not to be taken too seriously, okay?
Next, we have a very specific breed of survivor, the hardcore budget refugee. Let's be honest here, the budget refugee isn't interested in cultural immersion. They don't care about the local history, they don't care about the architecture, they have zero interest in learning the language beyond numbers. The only exchange they're genuinely passionate about is how much they can exchange their money for. These are the people who looked at the modern financial system back home, the rent prices, the taxes, the cost of groceries, and said, I'm out. They've chosen extreme frugality not out of desperation but as a lifestyle choice. They pride themselves on getting by on the absolute bare minimum. You get the distinct impression that if things got tough, a hardcore budget refugee would attempt to pay for their rent with a few toenail clippings and a thimble of belly button fluff. To them, spending money is a sign of weakness. Watch the religious celebration in their eyes when they discover a hidden stall selling a 5 rupee cup of chai or a 20 rupee dosa. They'll talk about that 20 rupee dosa for the next 3 weeks as if they personally negotiated a global peace treaty. They view luxury as a corporate trap designed to enslave you. They will willingly live in a bare concrete room with a single mattress on the floor, a rusty ceiling fan that rattles like a helicopter, and a bucket shower. And they'll look you dead in the eye and tell you they're living better than a CEO in the city. They know exactly how many days they can survive on $100, and they treat the local economy like a game they're determined to win. If you mention a nice restaurant that costs more than a few dollars a plate, they'll look at you like you're a reckless, money-burning fool. To them, living on next to nothing is a competition, and they're going to win.
So what I'm assuming is these boats that we can see right out there, if you can see them, they take the net out and bring it around, and these guys pull it in. I can't imagine how else they get the net out there. They must take a boat out there. It's quite a big net. I saw it last year. Looking forward to see what the catch is.
Next up is a much darker figure, the runner. On the surface, the runner is fantastic company. They're cynical, charming and witty, but at the exact same time, completely and utterly emotionally guarded. When you first meet them, they're the life of the party, a raconteur. They know the best hidden spots, they tell great stories, and they have this really nice, relaxed energy. But it doesn't take long before you notice the cracks. You start to realise they didn't move across the world because they fell in love with the beaches, culture or food. They moved here because their life back home suffered some type of radioactive meltdown. Maybe it was a brutal divorce or a sudden bankruptcy, a failed business that left a trail of angry people, or perhaps, a complete and permanent alienation from their entire family. The runner is a master of the clean slate. They absolutely love being anonymous in a foreign city. They thrive on the fact that nobody here knows who they were 5 years ago. Nobody knows about the house that got foreclosed on, or the court dates, or why their name has completely disappeared from all professional networking sites. If you try to steer the conversation towards their past, watch how fast they pivot. They're Olympic-level deflectors. They'll turn it into a joke, buy another round of drinks, or suddenly remember they have somewhere else to be. They keep their bags packed at all times. They have to live in furnished rentals. If they buy a toaster, it's too much of a commitment. When their phone rings with an international area code, they won't answer it. They'll just stare at the screen with a completely blank expression until it stops buzzing. They're using the cheap cost of living, the sunny weather and the transient nature of the expat community as a thick psychological shield. They're running on pure adrenaline, terrified that if they stop or if they let anyone get too close, the ghosts of their past will catch a flight and find them.
Is the net, how far out? 1 hour.
All right, let's talk about a character you will definitely meet in a bar, the big deal guy. You'll know you're dealing with the big deal guy seconds of opening your mouth. The defining characteristic of the big deal guy is that he has done everything you have ever done, except he's done it so much better. It was twice as dangerous and he didn't even get a scratch. He is the undisputed heavyweight champion of one-upmanship. If you casually mention over a drink that you once took a beautiful scenic slow boat up the Mekong River during a holiday, the big deal guy will snort in his glass and shake his head with a patronising grin and tell you that the Mekong is practically a water park for children. He'll then launch into a 45-minute monologue about the time he was 500 kilometres up the Amazon River, completely uncharted territory, mind you, wrestling black panthers on an old wooden beer pallet that he was paddling upstream with nothing more than a broken branch and willpower. The terrifying part is he expects you to believe it. The big deal guy has a resume that reads like an international thriller novel written by an overzealous teenager. He's been a black ops consultant, a high-stakes commodities trader, a deep-sea salvage diver, and a personal advisor to Middle Eastern royalty. If you tell him you've just bought a new scooter, he'll tell you about the time he raced the prototype through the Sahara Desert with a flat tyre. If you mention you had a mild bout of food poisoning from a local night market, he'll interrupt to explain that he once survived a rare flesh-eating tropical parasite by cauterising his own wound with a car battery and a bottle of rum. He thrives on the awe of new arrivals. He targets fresh expats because veterans of the town have already developed an immunity to his stories and will actively clear the room when he walks in. He needs an audience to validate his status as the ultimate alpha explorer. He's a walking, talking, tall tale. And while his stories are mathematically impossible and defy the laws of physics, you have to admire the confidence it takes to look a stranger in the eye and pretend you once outswam a great white shark while carrying a Volkswagen.
How many meters is this net? $200 meters. Wow, so it's 200 meters.
You're going 200 meters on the sea. After you go the put in the net.
Very big, yeah.
Yes.
And how long does it take to bring the net in? Maybe
2 or 3 hours.
2 or 3 hours.
Yes.
Oh, it's a long time. Every day. Every day.
No.
No.
There's 2 or 3 days more like this.
Ah, okay, yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah?
Yes.
I said 200 meters of net. It actually looks longer than that. It looks a lot longer than that. I'm not sure if you can see it. We've now got a flock of what look like sea eagles or some type of predatory bird starting to follow the net in, and every now and again you'll see 1 or 2 of them plunge in and pluck a fish out. There goes one.
Next on our list is a staple of beachfront towns and nightlife districts across Asia. This is almost exclusively a man in his late 50s, 60s, or sometimes even older, who's discovered that the cheap cost of living in this part of the world doubles as a fountain of youth. Peter Pan looks at his ageing body, looks at his passport, and completely refuses to accept reality. Instead, he uses the local environment to freeze his youth. You can spot him a mile away because he dresses exactly like a 20-year-old backpacker who's just arrived on a gap year. His knees groan every time he stands up, but his outfit screams, "I just dropped out of college." He rides a brand new scooter way too fast through narrow traffic, weaving between cars with a reckless confidence that terrifies everyone around him. When the sun goes down, Peter Pan lives in the bars. He knows all the young travellers, he knows the bartenders, he's always the loudest person at the table. He spends his nights doing shots, dancing to electronic music and trying desperately to blend in with a crowd that is young enough to be his grandchildren. It's a bit tragic but also a bit impressive. Mostly he's too amped up and exhausting to be around. The most fascinating part of the Peter Pan is his defensive mechanism. He'll avoid any conversation that threatens to pop his bubble. If you bring up mortgages, retirement funds, adult children, health scares, or anything that reminds him of his actual age or responsibilities he left behind, he will instantly shut down. He will laugh it off. He'll call you boring, buy another round of beers and escape onto the dance floor. He's terrified of growing old, and he's determined to keep riding that scooter into the sunset until the wheels fall off. And now we come to the heavyweight champion of negativity, the miserable expat. This is an individual who's lived in the country for at least 10 years, sometimes 15, and they hate absolutely every single aspect of it. If you sit next to them at a bar, prepare yourself for a masterclass in complaining. They despise the local infrastructure. They loathe the corrupt bureaucracy. They complain constantly about the traffic, and they talk about the heat as if it's a personal curse inflicted upon them by the universe. They've turned misery into a fine art. But here's the irony. They will never, ever move back home. If you ask them why they don't just pack up and leave if it's so terrible, they'll glare at you like you're an idiot. Back in their home country, they would be an average retiree living in a small apartment, clipping coupons. Here, they have a house, a maid, a driver, a social status they could never achieve anywhere else. So they stay. They choose to live like a king in a kingdom they utterly detest, ruling over their frustrations. The miserable expat thrives on being the ultimate authority on local life. If you're a new expat and you make a positive observation like how beautiful the scenery is or how friendly the people are, the miserable expat will swoop in to correct you. "Oh, you think they're friendly," they'll say with a cynical smirk. "Just wait until you get the deposit back." They love to tell you that you're naive. They are absolutely certain that your optimism is just a temporary phase. And they take a weird, dark comfort in knowing that if you stay here long enough, the country will eventually break your spirit and you'll end up sitting right next to them, complaining about the heat. Finally, let's move to the upper echelons of the expat ecosystem and look at a very specific, highly visible duo, the well-padded retirees. These are invariably couples who have spent 40 years working hard and cashed out, and they're now spending their golden years judging everyone else. They don't just live in one place, they split their year between a tropical villa in Phuket and a luxury waterfront apartment on the Gold Coast. They've successfully won the game of capitalism, and they want to make sure their wardrobe reflects it. You can spot them from a mile away because they look like they stepped directly out of a luxury travel magazine. He's always wearing a perfectly crisp, authentic linen shirt and a pristine Panama hat. She, on the other hand, is a walking monument to resort wear chic, sporting flowing silk kaftans and gold Egyptian sandals that snake all the way up to her knees. And when they smile, you have to reach for the sunscreen. The well-padded retirees don't just go to restaurants, they practically run the social hierarchy of the town. They know the owners of every high-end eatery, every boutique beach club and every five-star resort spa within a 50-mile radius. They don't look at menus, they just nod at the chef who personally brings out off-menu delicacies. They know exactly who's having an affair, who's running out of money, which villa development is a scam, and which local politician is currently receiving favours. They deliver this information over margaritas and mimosas at Sunday brunch. The weirdest thing is they don't ever sweat.
That was a relaxing way to spend an early morning in Palolem, watching the village pull in the net. Just again to say, this thing that I'm doing today about 8 expats you want to avoid, it's just a bit of tongue-in-cheek nonsense, really. I'm not out to judge anyone, and you know, the way I see it, the more varied personalities and characters we have in life, the more colourful the tapestry or palette, you know. So, yeah, don't take it too seriously, okay? That's just about it for this one. As always, I hope you're well and happy in life and doing the things you want to do. We'll see you soon.